Welcome to Histoire en série en VO, a podcast created by Nicolas Charles and Yoann Chanoir in collaboration with Émilie Mitran. In this podcast, senior and young scholars look at all the TV shows, past, present, and future, to dissect your favorite series content. Histoire en série en VO, a podcast that connects series to history and humanities. On Mardi Gras Day this year, New Orleans may look like ghost town. In addition to canceling the city's 50-plus carnival parades, Mayor Latoya Cantrell recently decided to temporarily shut down all bars and the city's most happening streets for fear the celebration might turn into a super spreader, as it had last year. She called the antics of French Quarter crowds in the face of the pandemic unacceptable. This is not the first time that Mardi Gras festivities have been cancelled in the Big Easy. Previous epidemics, including a yellow fever outbreak in 1878 and Spanish flu in 1919, rioting white mobs during Reconstruction, and a police union strike in 1979, had been causes for cancellation in the past. Interestingly, the lack of old traditions may have sparked a new one, as thousands of homes around the city have been decorated as house floats, being adorned with artwork and other features commonly seen on floats during parades. To get a sense of the extent to which the identity of New Orleans is intertwined with Carnival, one does not need to look further than a TV show named Treme, which ran from 2010 to 2013 on cable channel HBO. We've asked Aurélie Godet, an associate professor of American history at the Université de Paris, to discuss the multiple representations of Mardi Gras in the series. Dr. Godet, welcome, and thank you for inaugurating the very first episode of Histoire en série en VO.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Godet, you recently contributed an article to an edited collection on Treme, and you are currently writing a book on the politics of play in New Orleans from the 18th century up till today. Would you say that Mardi Gras features prominently in the series created by David Simon and Eric Overmyer?
Definitely, I would. Not only is it the focus of an entire episode in each season, it's also a constant narrative, visual, and auditory presence. The show's protagonists constantly reference it, usually with an air of expectancy throughout season one. And then in seasons two, strings of beats continuously adorn the cityscape. And if you look at the credits reel of season 4, you'll see that it includes a close-up of a Mardi Gras Indian climbing into his suit, and then a bird's eye view of a crew of muses float, etc. So lots of shots of floats, and finally a courier de Mardi Gras in rural Louisiana. And together with these shots, multiple shots of Mardi Gras crowds, you can constantly hear traditional festive songs such as La Danse de Mardi Gras, Alex McMurray's The Day After Mardi Gras Day, and of course the anthem of New Orleans Carnival, Al Johnson's Carnival Time. So these are a mainstay of the show's soundtrack. And in a way, such ubiquity is not really surprising because Carnival celebrations are a key component of New Orleans history and civic identity. And Treme is really a TV show that is intent on achieving aesthetic and historical realism. And I would argue that the representations of Mardi Gras in the series are not just about verisimilitude, however. Treme's portrayal of these festivities really pertains to both education and entertainment, sociology and metaphor, realism and fantasy.
Do David Simon and Eric Overmyer celebrate all aspects of the yearly ritual, or are they selective in their appreciation of the festivity?
Well, they are definitely selective in their praise of Mardi Gras. The series tends to either ignore or disparage the more commercial, rowdier aspects of Mardi Gras. So boobs for beads, this practice, of exposing one's breasts to colorful strands of beads, it's only hinted at on screen. And similarly, the open super crews that stage those lavish parades with national celebrities, well, they are conspicuously absent from the show as well. And when Treme's characters mention these products of the 1960s, it's either in passing or in jest, really. And if you think of carnival balls, mostly they are portrayed as staid and sedate, even boring. Like, for example, there's this Rex Ball. Rex is an organization that was founded in 1872. And in the series, it's criticized for its elderly, elitist membership. One of the characters, DJ Davis, even calls it formaldehyde on wheels. And when you can see a few shots of the ball, but mostly it's through a screen within a screen device, because it's shown as a sleep-inducing event covered live by a news channel in New Orleans. So this screen within a screen device, it really mirrors the creator's own distance from the proceedings. And it prevents, in a way, the show's audience from identifying with the event.
Oh, okay. So if Treme rejects the more lucrative and formal carnival festivities, what elements of Louisiana Mardi Gras does it exactly celebrate?
Well, the focus of the show is on lesser-known gatherings, which I guess Simon and Overmyer find more authentic. So these are parades whose satirical messages are more aligned with David Simon's TV work, or celebrations that have been occurring for 60 years on Claiborne Avenue, right under the interstate bridge, or the Cajun Country Mardi Gras, which is portrayed in the series as a less commodified alternative to big city parades, or other walking clubs that are sufficiently small to be deemed more authentic as well. So mostly the series focuses on groups that break gender and racial barriers, or that are satirical in tone.
Okay, so to viewers unfamiliar with Mardi Gras celebrations in New Orleans, do David Simon and Eric Overmyer provide any kind of historical or folkloristic information?
Well, there is actually very little in the series in the way of historical or folkloristic information, which is not entirely surprising given the whole show's elliptical brand of storytelling. But you can feel Simon and Overmyer's pedagogical intent in the narrative structure of the show, which is based on a system of echoes and repetitions, which is meant to facilitate, I think, the audience's understanding of New Orleans culture. And you can also feel it in a handful of scenes, which can only be described as initiation rituals. For example, in season 1, episode 4, Darius, who is a young boy that Albert Lambro, the chief of the Mardi Gras Indian tribe, met in episode 3, stumbles across a Mardi Gras Indian practice. And he's a clear outsider at that point, but he becomes the audience's point of entry in the Indian folk art tradition that includes, as you know, dance, call and response, chants, and suits. So that allows, in a way, the audience to not identify with the tradition, but at least respect it and fathom its workings. And in season 2, episode 7, the audience this time is transported to the countryside outside New Orleans to experience this Courrier de Mardi Gras that I was referencing earlier, which is a traditional Mardi Gras event based on medieval French begging rituals, and which is held in many Cajun communities in southern Louisiana. And Ami Talarico, this time, is the character that guides us through the complexities of this celebration. and her understated dress and her awkward demeanor make her, again, a stand-in for most viewers who are also ignorant of the tradition.
Mhm. Encouraging appreciation and participation in carnival traditions makes sense for a TV program that itself partakes of popular culture. Still, couldn't Simon and Overmeyer's concern with authenticity be seen as problematic?
Well, I think Treme's barrage of local detail may indeed feel a bit overwhelming at times. And I personally see three main problems with it. First, I think it threatens to turn Mardi Gras into an object to be preserved rather than a living cultural phenomenon, thus echoing the sort of a musealizing approach fostered by the contemporary US culture industry and media. Then the creators' reverence for certain Mardi Gras rituals leads to a de-emphasis of their more controversial aspects. If you think of Cajun celebrations that are portrayed in the show, well, male chauvinism still permeates those celebrations, despite the establishment of a co-ed Mardi Gras run. So does racism, even though some rural careers are now fully integrated. So I think that's one of the problems with the show. And finally, the emphasis on authenticity plays down the commercial aspects of those Mardi Gras runs and Indian parades. They may well be advertised as an alternative to the plastic hedonism of big city parades, but they also have been commodified, and you can't really see that in the show. If you think of Mardi Gras Indian performances, they are not really restricted to the peripheral areas of New Orleans anymore. They have moved to the world of museums, to the world of jazz festival performances, at the risk of turning into an ethnic commodity that symbolizes Black New Orleans. So these are definitely threats or problems with the show. But I would add that, to be fair, Treme's obsessive quest for authenticity, I'm here quoting a scholar who clearly did not like the show very much. To be fair, it's not as self-righteous as it seems. And I think the show displays a refreshing ability to poke fun at their own didactic bent sometimes. And it's usually done via one character, the character of Davis McAlary, the DJ, because he's so hyperbolic in his praise of the city. He's so irritating when he tries to promote what he calls true New Orleans music, street-based New Orleans music, that in a way he can be seen as an extreme version of Simon and Overmeyer's own boosterism. And the costume that he sports in the last episode of the show, the costume of a Columbia University anthropologist interested in this Fat Tuesday ritual, but who really doesn't understand anything about it. Well, this may be seen as a way for Simon and Overmeyer to distance themselves from the serious professorial tone of the show's first season, especially.
And it's never divorced from a concern with poetics, right?
Yeah, Mardi Gras in the series is as much a worldly tradition as a poetic thing, as a collective retreat from reality. Now, for those who do not know much about it, the carnival season in New Orleans consists of a series of costumed float parades, street gatherings, and balls as well. And all of this typically starts on January 6th, the Epiphany, and culminates on Mardi Gras Day, the day before the beginning of Lent. And this pattern, this calendric pattern, is echoed in the very structure of Treme, since each season represents a year and is punctuated by a specific Mardi Gras episode. And as has often been noted, in these episodes, time seems suspended. Most characters stop working. They enjoy a prolonged break. Some insist that they will not work on Mardi Gras Day. And not only do their professional lives recede in the background, but their personal concerns do too. I'm thinking of the character of LaDonna Baptiste Williams, who refuses to break the news of her brother's death to her mother until after Carnival. Or the character of Albert Lambro, who decides to stop his chemotherapy in order to take his last Mardi Gras Indian walk. So reality, in a way, is downplayed during Mardi Gras. And Simon and Overmyer suspend the prominent character arcs in the same way. And instead, what they offer is 1 hour long celebrations of life, music, and culture that stand almost apart from the rest of the show. So in a way, these episodes, they violate basic narrative rules, and they mirror the do what you want spirit of Carnival.
So what kind of rules are broken and which boundaries are transgressed exactly in the series Mardi Gras specials?
Well, lots of them, but unsurprisingly, given the centrality of the body grotesque imagery in Carnival, most of these transgressions involve the characters' bodies. So Mardi Gras celebrants, they eat and they drink to excess. They transgress sartorial norms. For example, DJ Davis's father, who, as we learn in a season, wears a jacket and tie every day of his life, suddenly changes into a shocking purple, green, and gold shirt. That's in season 1's Mardi Gras episode. And sometimes that transgression, that sartorial transgression, verges on gender bending. Mardi Gras Indian chiefs are competing to be not the fiercest, as they used to, by the way, but the prettiest, something scarcely allowed for American males. And costuming can even help bridge racial barriers. And deeply symbolic in this regard is the scene in which Nelson Hidalgo, a Latino from Dallas, Texas, who arrived in Treme's second season with plans to rebuild the city. The scene when he dons blackface as part of the official Zulu parade costume. He thus pretends to be a black man making fun of white people's vision of African people. So these complexities mirror the sort of a cross-racial dimension of Carnival. And then, of course, sexual rules are also transgressed throughout the series. Now, most of these carnal pursuits remain off-screen or metaphorical, but sometimes courtesy, I guess, of the censorship-free production context permitted by distribution on a pay station. Well, Treme occasionally invites a voyeuristic gaze at naked bodies in front of the camera eye.
Are these carnivalesque transgressions experienced individually, or do they involve the whole cast of characters?
Well, I think that's one of the main attractions of the show and of the Mardi Gras episodes per se. It's that in line with the communal spirit of the Mardi Gras celebration, the real life Mardi Gras celebration, they bring the characters closer together. And Mardi Gras, in a way, is the event that unites all the characters of the show, musicians and non-musicians, insiders and outsiders, black and white, poor and rich, that brings them together in a sort of common narrative thread. And differences seem to subside via the use of extra diegetic music. So it can be, for example, Professor Longhair's Go to the Mardi Gras, which weaves through all of the main characters' Mardi Gras preparations, or it can be other songs, but mostly through music, the differences subside. But that doesn't make the carnival crowds faceless. nobody's mask really works in Treme's Mardi Gras episodes. So the characters dress up, but they are always recognized by other characters, whether it's Annie or Burnett and his family. They're always greeted by their neighbors. So Mardi Gras Day actually turns out to be an opportunity for the characters to reconnect with fellow community members, even though it's usually fleeting. Here I'm also thinking of the scenes in which you can see Fat Tuesday Indian rituals. And those rituals involve big chiefs, spy boys, flag boys, and a second line. And that second line is made up of musicians, dancers, supporters of the tribe, neighborhood people. And this second line sustains the neighborhood. You can actually feel it in the show. It comes to symbolize the city at large as well. Paraders tend to drift in and out of line. They stop to talk to others or to take a break, only to catch up several blocks later. So even Treme's audience feels the urge to follow this second line, which is at the heart of New Orleans music. In other words, I think Mardi Gras in the series creates a cultural bond among the characters, and that community, that cultural bond, extends to the community of viewers.
So in a way, these episodes capture New Orleans' utopian self-image. What about the darker aspects of Carnival, however? Is the conflicting nature of the celebration entirely absent from Simon and Ove Meyer's rendition of Mardi Gras?
No, it's not. And since the 1960s, especially, there's been a lot of debate about whether Carnival is, in fact, a liberating social ritual. And the consensus today is that rather than the victory of one group over another, or an event which reifies and maintains social structures, Carnival is rather a dialectical dance around the processes of inversion and intensification. So in a way, Carnival is politics masquerading behind cultural forms. And such a view of Carnival as politics was bound to attract David Simon, because his work has often been praised not merely for its sophisticated storytelling, but also for its engagement with political issues. So I think that if you look at Treme more closely, and if you look at those Mardi Gras episodes more closely, you'll see that Mardi Gras is actually a window onto New Orleans' culture of racism, violence, and corruption, as much as a tribute to its culture of collective joy and carefreeness.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, speaking of racism, some have said that the series downplays racial issues and favors narratives of cross-racial unity. So do you disagree then?
Well, I just think it's maybe a little more complicated, and that the series actually contributes to the audience's awareness of racism by uncovering its presence in the unlikeliest of places, that is, at the very heart of Mardi Gras celebrations. And a telling example of that, this strategy of oblique revealing is offered when Creighton and Tony Burnett reminisce about the Carnival cruise that no longer parade during Mardi Gras season. And after Creighton waxes nostalgic about the Knights of Momus and their satirical approach to Carnival, Tony reminds him of the antebellum aspects of their parades, and the fact that they featured black flambeau carriers and masked riders whose pointy head coverings, looked like Ku Klux Klan hoods. So even though Treme's Mardi Gras episodes do offer an expression of interracial unity through montage especially, they certainly do not expunge Mardi Gras' history of racial discrimination. And when you see crowd shots of Mardi Gras, celebrants in the show, you can see that they are actually made up of two different celebrations. One that, is connected to European power display techniques, and one that is founded on the spirit of the transatlantic Black world, basically.
Okay, so New Orleans has a maybe exaggerated reputation for violence and political corruption. Do these also make their way into the show?
Yes, they do. And manifestations of violence in the show include, the sublimated violence of Mardi Gras Indian rituals, but also the physical abuse of Indians by the police and the threat of violent death during carnival parades. Actually, the most common face of law breaking during the show's Mardi Gras episodes remains gun violence. So there's this episode, for example, in which LaDonna's children get caught up in a shooting at a truck parade, which actually mirrors a real-life shooting that happened at the end of the 2009 Rex parade. Mm-hmm. And this occurrence instills a sense of permanent danger among the audience, as well as among the diegetic police officers. And only at the very end of Mardi Gras Day, when murder can finally be ruled out from the list of usual carnival antics, does tension actually subside. So naturally, the contrast between the main character's joy and these sudden eruptions of violence is meant to shock the audience into realizing just how unstable, how unpredictable the New Orleans milieu is. And as far as corruption is concerned, fraudulent conduct is regularly referenced in the series, especially in relation to the New Orleans Police Department or the mayor's office. And you can see it seep through the city's festivities, as suggested by two particular episodes. So in season 2, episode 7, Nelson Hidalgo, whom I mentioned earlier, is our point of entry into the shady workings of the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. In another episode in season 3, you can see a Washington, D.C. Mardi Gras ball in which clearly senators and members of the Louisiana congressional delegation are here to strike real estate deals. They're not interested in the festivity at all. So Treme's rendition of Mardi Gras is fundamentally equivocal. For some characters, it allows a temporary escape from reality, while for others, it is business as usual or a continuation of politics by other means. And the function of Mardi Gras for David Simon and Eric Overmyer is similarly ambiguous, I think. It's a vehicle for entertainment, but it also allows the audience to discover the more troubling aspects of the struggling city's reality. So these are two sides of the same coin in Treme, in a way: masking and unmasking, covering and uncovering, exposure and concealment.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, however, doesn't the resilience trope overshadow all other uses of Mardi Gras in the series?
Well, yeah, I think that in the same way as Carnival's colors generally present Mardi Gras as a ritual allowing for reinvention through catharsis, Treme presents Mardi Gras as an emblem of the city's capacity to adapt to its post-Katrina context. So I think that the trope of resilience is probably the dominant one in the end. And actually, Treme closes with a powerful image, that of the enormous pothole that caused Davis McAlari's car to break down. And the cavity has not yet been filled in the last episode, but you can see a traffic cone in it and a shopping cart, which he put in it to warn other drivers that the pothole exists. And this pothole has, in a way, been turned into an urban scarecrow, festooned with Indian feathers, Mardi Gras beads, and even a mask. So that image, that final image of the show, speaks to the difficulty of fixing the city's problems, including potholes, but it also speaks to the communal spirit that draws people and that makes New Orleans such a fertile storytelling territory. And additionally, the fade out after this final close-up of the mask conveys, I think, the idea that Mardi Gras will lighten up any situation, as hopeless as it may seem. And there's another storyline which I think embodies the trope of resilience, and that's the Lambro storyline, which is one of the show's main narrative arcs. And this arc combines Mardi Gras imagery with a resilience trope. In the first episode of the series, Albert Lambro is an Indian chief whose tribe has been decimated by Katrina and who strives to gather it once again. And though Albert's son Delmond is initially frustrated with his father's decision to stay in New Orleans after Katrina, his attitude changes when he sees a line of Black Indians dancing down the street on Mardi Gras Day 2006. And he invites his father to stay with him in New York, where he shows him the suit he has been working on. And he later enjoys the 2007 parade in the company of his father, clapping, singing, dancing. And ultimately, Albert offers Delmond the opportunity to become big chief of the Guardians of the Flame when it's clear that he's not going to make it because of cancer. And Delmond refuses to carry out his late father's wish, but not because he doesn't think the tradition is important, but rather because he's come to realize the importance of cultural transmission. And he feels that George, the tribe's second in command, will be better able to preserve Mardi Gras Indian heritage. So I think nowhere is David Simon and Eric Overmeyer's subscription to the resilience paradigm more obvious than here. Also, you can feel it very clearly in season 1's Mardi Gras episode, since that's the Mardi Gras that came barely 6 months after Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. And these festivities were preceded by a very heated debate on the propriety of holding celebrations in a city that was still inundated with water. And interestingly, Treme does not even mention the controversy. Celebrating Mardi Gras seems natural to all the series characters, most of whom do not even utter the word Katrina. So the episode's underlying message seems to be, Mardi Gras survived through the Civil War, the 1878 yellow fever epidemic, 2 world wars, a police strike, several NAACP boycotts. Why should it not carry on? And due to this, emphasis on continuance, perpetuation, but also no stumbling at fate in Mardi Gras celebrations, I think it's fair to portray the series as an illustration of the stereotypical view of New Orleans as a fundamentally Epicurean city, epitomized by its motto, laissez des bons temps rouler, or, its other nicknames, the Big Easy, the city that care forgot.
Mm-hmm. So from a creative standpoint, how do Simon and Overmeyer make sure that the viewers never grow tired of seeing images of what is, essentially a repetitive ritual?
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of repetition involved in Mardi Gras. And I think that for Simon and Overmeyer, this was indeed one of the biggest creative challenges here. Carnival is actually a combination of timelessness and timeliness. And I think that in the end, the series really captured this meeting of two kinds of time, the slow time of social custom and the transitory time of events. So in the series, you can definitely see some traditions, both old and new, and they clearly are important to the characters' experiences of Mardi Gras. And they do get repetitive, and such repetitiveness occasionally generates lassitude. The same jokes every year, laments one of the characters actually, but it also generates anticipation and exhilaration. You look forward to these moments that come back every year. So, and also considerable as the weight of tradition may be, no two Mardi Gras look quite alike. And Davis McAlary notes that you can hear a song for the umpteenth time and yet, you realize it's still fresh. And this also echoes Creighton Burnett's observation that post-Katrina Mardi Gras is the same, yet not the same, familiar, yet strange. And this feeling that change reigns amid tradition can be ascribed to New Orleanians' fundamentally creative disposition. The characters tend to shrug off economic and physical constraints. They refuse to use patches or costumes from previous Mardi Gras, and they swear to create a new suit, a new costume every year. So there's a real interplay of tradition and change in the series. And what I think is interesting is that it's also mirrored at the production level, which echoes the main challenge for Treme's showrunners: make each Mardi Gras episode as original as possible, renew viewers' interest, while reassuring them that they are still watching the same series. So if you look at those Mardi Gras episodes isolatedly, then you'll see that each Fat Tuesday hour includes a long montage of the main character's preparations while a song is playing. So in the last season, it's actually John Boute's version of Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans? And you can see the same montage over and over again. The shots, for example, of police officers and street cleaners rolling down Bourbon Street at midnight, symbolically asserting the end of Mardi Gras. But at the same time, Simon and Overmeyer's desire to showcase their creative skills prompted them to change the composition of every Mardi Gras episode's writing and directing teams. So each Mardi Gras episode has a different director and writers. I'm not going to get into the details here, but journalists were brought on board as well as local people, so that interest would be renewed, and that every one of them would bring a different perspective to Mardi Gras. So due to this emphasis on freshness, I think Mardi Gras episodes actually never fail to surprise the audience, even though it's still the same event taking over the city every year.
Okay, my last question for you would be, if you had to summarize Treme's overall discourse on Carnival, what would you say?
Well, I would say that Mardi Gras in Treme is both a tradition to be honored and a sign of the city's increasingly musealized culture at the same time. I would say that it's a way to escape the traumas of the storm and a window also into the city's problems, the problem of corruption, violence, and disaster capitalism. And the need to represent Mardi Gras also seems to me to arise from conflicting impulses. There's the desire to, drench the show in local color and in order to provide a realistic picture of the city, But there's also a desire to entertain the viewer, of course, and to satisfy a pleasure-hungry audience. There's also a desire to produce a new iteration of David Simon's fictional investigation of the hidden lives of American cities, to create a sort of a socially aware drama. And last but not least, I would say that the show testifies to a desire to dazzle the viewer with visual fireworks, and in order to showcase the producer's creative abilities. So overall, I would say that the Mardi Gras episodes, which I've referenced throughout this podcast episode, I would say that they largely contribute to the overall quality of the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Godet, for this very lively and I would say comprehensive presentation of the series Treme in the very first episode of Histoire en série en VO. So thank you for accepting our invitation.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Thank you. Don't miss a single episode. Join us on Twitter at Histoire en série and find our guest presentation and bibliography on our website www.histoireenserie.com.
Travel artistically, such a beautiful planet populated by a strangely animals.